Hey everybody, this is Natalie from Champion of Coins Tarot, and I'm here today to do the very long awaited, much anticipated deck collection walkthrough video. I'm going to start with my tarot decks. Over the past year and a half that I've been reading, I have accumulated 10 of them, and I thought that this would be the time to finally show them off for all of you. I am planning on going through these decks in the order that I received them, and I actually have one in the mail on the way. I ordered the Tarot of the Third Millennium because it's currently out of print. There are no plans for reissuing it currently, and I found it for $8 on Amazon. So I figured I might as well go for it. Um, but other than that deck that's on the way, I am really trying to cut down on my tarot buying, my oracle buying, and really focusing on the decks that I have for this year and only incorporating ones that I really love and that are filling or that would be filling a current void in my collection and in my life. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. The first deck that I have is the Golden Tarot by Liz Dean, and I made a video about this as part of Ethany's 31 Days of Tarot video challenge. It was the first tarot deck that I ever received. I purchased it for myself at Barnes & Noble, and even though I don't use this deck anymore, which I explained in the other video, I still really love the artwork, and I fully intend to try to use it again and to incorporate it this year because it is time. I just think the images are so charming. They have a very medieval aesthetic, which I enjoy, and kind of, I think, Byzantine influences too, especially for the High Priestess and for the Hierophant. And I just think that it's absolutely charming, and I want it back in my life. The pips are unillustrated. So, for example, for the cup suit, you just have 6 plain cups. For pentacles, you have the 2 coins. For swords, have these and kind of a more mountainous, kind of a more wintry look in the background. And then the wands are quite fiery. So it's nice because even though you don't get the standard symbolism that other decks would have, you at least have the seasonal associations and the elemental associations portrayed within. And then, of course, they still have the 4 classic courts. The page, I guess, just didn't want to show up. So that's a look at that deck. And I believe I got it in May or June, possibly even maybe July of 2014. I know that May was when I first discovered tarot and when I first got into it, but it wasn't a while until I decided to make the plunge and purchase my first deck. So I used that deck exclusively for a year, and then the following May, after my first year of college, I decided to get serious and to buckle down and to really dedicate a lot of time and energy into studying tarot. And I was having difficulty relating with my first deck, the Golden Tarot, because of just energetic associations I had with it and memories of that rough year. And it was also difficult for me to read because of the unillustrated pips. So I went ahead and got the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This is the US Games version edition. It has the plastic plaid backs, and this has gradually become one of my most used decks of the year. I know there are some people who are not exactly crazy about the Rider-Waite-Smith or who aren't really crazy about this specific edition of it, but I absolutely love it. And I love that every time I use it and every time I study it, there's always going to be something new that pops up, even though these are the traditional symbols that we associate with tarot, that this is kind of like the poster child for tarot reading in our culture today. it still has new and fresh insights, and there's always something around every corner. And I love using it. I love using it for other people because I find that if they're interested in tarot, they kind of really want that as their introductory experience, and it's easiest for them to relate to because it is so iconic. So I received that deck, but I didn't get along with it at first. It wasn't until I decided to purchase Tarot of the Magical Forest that I really fell in love and I really hit my stride. And this deck is so charming. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, so it uses the exact same imagery as that deck, but it has animals. So all of the pentacles are foxes, the cups are rabbits, all the angels in the deck are sheep, which is adorable. Let's try to find some of the other suits. This is the moon. So you see there's still the traditional symbolism of the crayfish or the aquatic creature crawling out onto land, the two mountains in the background, the dogs, except these are more like sentries, which is a really interesting concept. So I really like that. I probably should have sorted these before I started the video, but oh well. The wand cards are frogs, and I really like it because I thought it was kind of a weird choice when I was first learning this deck, but I feel like it captures the transformational energy and the spiritual energy of the suit. Because frogs, they begin their lives in the water as tadpoles, and over the course of their life, they grow and mature and they change into these amphibian creatures that are capable of bridging the divide between the land and the water. And it's really nice. The swords are cats, which is quite cute. And I know some people think that the animals are kind of creepy because they have bug eyes, but I really love them. I think that they are absolutely charming, and I often describe this deck as being like a 5-year-old because it's very sweet, it's very cute, it has no filter, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This is the deck that, again, I kind of first got tarot with, and that was really instrumental in helping me on my journey. It's the first one that I didn't need the book and that I felt confident just reading straight with. And I experimented with it a lot over the summer, and it's still one of my favorites. I love pulling it out for other people as an icebreaker. I think it's just a cute introduction to tarot and really kind of lessens the fears that a lot of people have about it. The next deck I got was the China Tarot, and I've also talked about this one on my channel before, but this deck has unillustrated pips, and it's focused in on people and people's faces. So again, we have a 10 of swords, that's just the regular swords. And this is just absolutely stunning. I believe this was originally intended to be an art deck, but I've had no trouble reading it. I find that the colors flow together so beautifully, and I like that it's so people focused as instead of being more of an action based or an environmentally based deck, because it really allows me to sit and to journal and to meditate with these characters and these representations of the archetypes and communicate with them in a much more real and a much more just raw way. And I think I've mentioned before in my other video about it, which I can link below for anyone who's curious, but I got this because I really wanted a more spiritually based deck and one that I could really meditate and do a lot with. And it has definitely given me that experience. But it's also surprised me in so many absolutely wonderful ways. Like, look at this devil. I love it. I just really love it, and it does take me to a very spiritual place, and I'm really happy for it. I also received the Night Sun Tarot. This is kind of, I say received, but it was really a gift that I purchased for myself for my birthday that summer. I'm a Leo, by the way, for anyone who's curious. And this deck, I feel like it's another one that I could study forever, and I would never figure it out. It's so richly detailed. It draws from so many different influences from other cultures, from Hermetic and mystic traditions. It's just an absolute joy, and it gives me the most in-depth readings. And I really wish that I had the time and that I had the energy to really devote to studying this because it doesn't come with its own guidebook. So, Lo Scarabeo, if you are watching, please tell this man to hurry up and to finish the guidebook for this deck because it is like there's so much packed into each card. Like, look at this representation of justice. Just the eyes, the geometry, the symbolism of the yin and the yang in balance on his scales. You have the Libra sign, you have the crossed feet, you have the nail that's about to pierce them. That's very Christ-like. It's so powerful. And it's so colorful too. It's very vibrant and it gives me very rich readings, I think. And I'm very glad to have it and to continue to work it out and to figure out the mystery of it. Oh, and each card has the zodiac association and the traditional Kabbalistic Hebrew letter associated with it. And that also adds another dimension to it. As far as the minors go, they also have that associations. They have the planet and they have the zodiac sign that it's in. So you can also read it from an astrological lens, which is very interesting and has yielded good results for me. That summer, I also decided to purchase my first used deck. I got it off of eBay, and it is the Dragon Tarot by Nigel Suckling. Usually, I take the art cards out, just like the extra bonus cards from the deck out and use them as bookmarks, but I absolutely love this full image of the star, and I kept it in there. This is another pip deck, and it features portraits of men and women with their dragon companions. And I absolutely love the artwork. I think it's just so intriguing. But I don't use this deck very much, unfortunately, because the previous owner, I believe, cleansed their deck a lot with this particular incense that I don't really like. I don't know if it's because I don't really like the smell of sage, so I don't know if it's sagey or what. It's not entirely pleasant for me. So I'm planning on doing a cleansing ritual for it this year and really just getting in and digging it deep and making it my own because I do love it. And the readings I have used it for have mostly been for love readings, surprisingly. And it has worked absolutely beautiful. It gives fantastic advice and it's very friendly and very open, which I really love. So then I held off on buying decks, whoops, for a couple months. And then in October, I had a lot of dreams about the Laska Tarot. I wanted a darker themed deck. I wanted something for shadow work, something that could help me to confront the big issues, so to speak. And this deck has not disappointed. And it's interesting because I kind of put off getting this deck for a while because I didn't like the artwork. It wasn't exactly my thing. I think that the men in the deck, like case in point, they all have like this really long hair. Um, they're all kind of like superhero-ish in a way. Excuse me, which I'm not really about. And there is a lot of nudity in the deck. There are a lot of kind of sensual situations and a lot of violent situations as well. But I have absolutely no regrets about purchasing it because despite the art style and despite the very thematic and very dark and very detailed imagery in these cards, I find that when I read it, I'm instantly able to kind of see through or pass through the images and I'm able to relate it directly to memories and to experiences that I have had in my own life. And I can see myself in every single figure, in every man or woman or child that's depicted in this artwork. And it's been so powerful and so healing. And I've only done a few readings with this deck so far because it comes to me when I need it to. And I work with it when I need to. And I go to that place inside myself when I'm ready to. So it's been very powerful. And even though, again, I don't use it very much, it is one of my favorites and I love it. And the guidebook is really good as well. Um, Ludi has some very unique takes on some of the symbolism, which is really interesting to work with and has been just really fun and really, again, just interesting to work with. I feel like also these cards, they are all linked. Like the same characters show up again and again amongst the suits, and it interweaves. And I would love to someday kind of piece this deck together and try to put the images together and try to see what the story and what's happening beneath all this action. So, yes, I really love it. And then the other deck that I got at that time was the Aquarian Tarot by David Palladini. And this is so funny that I got these two at around the same time because this is my most optimistic deck. Like, it's so joyful, it's so wonderful, and it gives me the most uplifting readings sometimes. And I really love it. It has a very Art Deco, very 70s art style. So, and I mean, it's kind of hit or miss, to be honest. Like, I really hate this Nine of Cups just because I don't like his face. He reminds me of a really terrible teacher that I actually had back in high school. But on the other hand, I really do like the faces and I like how they aren't really as detailed because this is the deck that I go to for a lot of spirit work sometimes. I don't do that very often, but I find that the blank faces allows me to be able to like project and be able to feel the energy of that person and to be able to get a feel for their personality, which is really nice. It's able to kind of like fill in the blanks and to really embody the energy that that entity holds. So I've really been loving this. And it's one that I also just like to kind of carry around with me just every day because its energy is so bright and so happy. Whoops. I didn't mean to bump the camera there and get you out of focus. But yes, I really like this deck as well. Then I got the Sorceress Tarot this past Christmas. Again, kind of one of the gifts to myself. And I'm really kind of sad that I haven't been able to work with it as much as I want to. Just because the Sherlock Holmes Tarot, which you're going to see soon, has kind of taken over my life. But I absolutely love this deck. It's interesting because when I did the deck interview for it, it was very adamant about being read without a book, about being read without, without kind of like my preconceived notions, kind of the rules that I set for myself about how I read. It wants to focus on the imagery. It wants me to kind of shut down a little bit on the words and to kind of take the deck as it is and to practice reading that way. And I think it's really cool and really interesting because, because I feel like even though it's technically a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, like there's so much new information and so much depth packed into each card. Like here, this depiction of the Ten of Swords, you get the sense that there's an ending. You get a sense that, you know, she's going to be stabbed with something, but it shows the moment before and it shows the situation and the different dynamics surrounding that, which I think is so interesting and so cool. And I can't wait to work with it more this month. And then, of course, the last one is my baby, the Sherlock Holmes Tarot. It comes in this really great box, but it's very, very big. So I usually just have it sitting on top of it. But this deck is absolutely wonderful. All of the suits and all of the names for the major arcana have been changed. So the swords have become observation. Pentacles have become deduction. Majors such as judgment have become the final problem to reference the names and the characters and certain cases that Sherlock Holmes encounters on his adventures in Victorian London, which I think is really great. There's the Two of Evidence, which is wands. And the Eight of Analysis, or just analysis in general, which would be Cups. And it's really cool. This is so much more practical. Like, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, this is the 7% solution for the Hierophant. And whereas you would think that the Hierophant is all about rules and society and doing things by the book and looking at dogma and stuff like that, like, this talks about Holmes's cocaine addiction, which is kind of the exact opposite of living a very structured, a very rule-based life. Although I can see how, like, there's kind of the ritual surrounding administering drugs, and it does become a routine, but it's interesting that this is like very countercultural. This is very different from the traditional structure that we would associate with a hierophant, with a not a romantic, a religious figure. It's really interesting and really cool. And I love the artwork. I think that the models that they chose for all of the characters is spot on, absolutely perfect. This is the way that I've always seen Watson, especially. Like, let's see if we can find him. Like, here they are. I love this deck so much. It's my most used deck for January. I haven't been able to put it down. There's kind of a bend in the cardstock already, if you can tell. Just, I love it. It's been a complete joy, and I can't wait to see how our relationship is going to continue to grow and to develop. So, this was a look at the tarot decks in my current collection. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in part 2, where I look at my oracle decks. Bye, everybody!